guys, it's Vandy. As a banger cafe banger deck profiles. Hope you enjoyed them. Like, comment, subscribe, and subscribe. This time we're covering DZ set 5 for Brandt Asturm. And now I'm definitely feeling the feeling of this is probably the last few deck profiles I'm doing because I did Cristonios last night, and now waking up today, I literally just didn't want to record this one of the one that's coming after this, but I have to get these done so I can have the last few deck profiles. So anyways, Asturm is one of the last two DZ set start bosses that I have yet to cover, and it's the one where it's kind of the most simplest to use because literally just restand a rear guard and then give it a bunch of numbers, but within that retrospect, it has the least amount of, I'm not going to say consistent support, but like it's not like Cristonios where everything kind of just fit into place with it. And you'll see what I mean when we get to the deck profile. So let's go ahead and get this started, shall we? See what we got. First today we have Energy Generator. It's our ride deck crest. You have a ride deck crest in your ride deck. Auto ride deck, when you put this card into your, when you drive, put this card to your crest zone. If you win, like Energy Charge 3, continues to map to energy, auto begin your ride phase, Energy Charge 3, then after once per turn, Energy Boss 7, draw a card. So you get a free 3 energy every turn. If you win second, you get an extra 3 energy, which is really helpful with a deck where literally if the main Vanguard's ability does not go off, this deck doesn't do anything considering how many of Astrum's support cards actually require Astrum's second skill to go off. So you will never use this draw skill, and you will always be taking that free 3 energy. But otherwise, that's pretty much it for our ride deck. There's not much more to say about it outside of it's important. Moving on, we have one copy of our starter, and that is Blitz Chief Mechanic Volton. Grades of boost 5k, shield 6k base, auto reply for second draw card, standard starter, nuts battles your free draw if you go second. You're gonna make this any starter you want. None of the right item really requires Volton. I just used to make it Volton because it is the canonical starter of Astrum since it came out in the same set as it. Then we have our Overtrigger, and that is Star Dragon, Deity of Infinitude, Elder Breath, Grids of Boost, 50k Shield, 5k Power, Overtrigger in your deck. When you vote it as a trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose one moves, it gets plus one power for the turn. If you voted during draw check, activate its adjust effect, which you could do double the power and critical of all your farming units until the end of the turn, increase the double in power critical at the time that this unit is activated. All around pretty solid because, Astrum, if you just play this deck the way it's supposed to, you're more likely or not going to get at least at least 5, but more likely than not, plus 10k, plus 20k, or plus 15k, I mean, to one of your rear guards, and plus 15k to the Vanguard as well. So the Vanguard is going to be at the bare minimum 28,000 plus another 10, 38,000 plus the double, so 76,000 with an extra critical on just a normal grade 3 turn. Around Elder Breath is very nice for just like overall pressure, and in a restand deck, this can definitely end up winning you the game, especially if your opponent's not ready for it. And if you played against this before, you've probably played against Gravidia and you probably have PTSD from it. So obviously, we're running Elder Breath for the sake of this thing can probably end the game the second you sack it, unless your opponent has a bunch of PGs. And if they do, well, at least they're walking out of the turn severely crippled defensively. So one of Elder Breath. Moving on, we have a total of 7 crits, 3 copies of Blitz Pilot Jagat, the grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 5k power. You're going to run any critical here. I just to make a Jagat because just like Walton, he came out in the same set as Astrum, so he's here for that reason. And of course, we have 4 copies of Patrol Robo Decker Cop, Grids of Boost, 15k Shield, 4k Power, Critical Trigger, Auto Rear Guard, and then out of the unit boosted, Shove it to Soul, choose one to get 2k for the turn. That 2k will not make the difference unless you have enough of these to make the difference, but it's really just here to have an extra critical. If you want to make this a vanilla crit, you very much can just for that extra 5k base because you don't know when that's going to make the difference. But I prefer to have a Patrol Robo Decker Cop here in case I end up using a lot of my Soul Blasters that game. So we have a total of 7 crit for the pressure, especially because we're doing a bunch of restanding. And then of course we have 4 copies of our Draw Trigger and Amulet Connector, Grades of Boost, 15k Shield, 4k or 5k shield, 4k power, continues guard circle, opponent's Vanguard's a grade 3 greater, add 5,000 shield. So it's a 10k shield. Once the opponent hits that grade 3 with any rush deck, you want to have some level of draw power, so it's nice to increase the hand. This deck pretty much will always have really like 2 really good attacks. It'll always be the Vanguard and always be whatever stood by the Vanguard. If you want to run in front triggers, you can, but really the only other 2 attacks you get in a turn typically, you're going to use those to either kill rear guards or just poke the Vanguard, and one of them is going to come before you do drive check, so the front wouldn't really make a difference offensively outside for that 1 extra unit. But if you want to run fronts in place of this, yeah, I can see why, but I prefer the 4 draws to help increase the hand. And we have 4 heals in Blitz Dr. Jensen. Grades of boost 15k shield, 5k power, standard heal, and that's about it. You can run any heal you want here. You can even run the counter heals, but I'd rather have a normal heal with a consistent 15k shield over the fluctuating 10 to 25k shield or the counter heals. And again, just like the Yacht and the Borton, this heal is here because it came out in the same set as Astrum, but again, you can run whatever heal you want. I do like the fact that it's a cute little, I don't know what I was about to say bunny. It's a squirrel, a cute little green squirrel, or teal squirrel technically. Moving on, we have our first grade 1. 4 copies of a really good support card for a deck that takes up a lot of CB, Progress Globe Dragon. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto rear guard, and then have this unit boosted. If your unit was stood by a card ability this turn, retire this unit, choose a grade 3 or greater Astrum from your drop zone or soul, bot deck, and if you chose a card, counter charge 1. All around, it's one of the best supporting grade 1s. I kind of shit on Orsolar just a little bit, and that's valid. I don't shit on Sarvaso because he has a really good grade 1 support card, and then Marlene I'm kind of like 50-50 on, but Progress Globe is like genuinely one of my favorites because he opens up board, which isn't ideal because he does retire himself. But if you open with an Asturm in hand, you want to discard it. As long as you're able to, spend CB to search another copy before you discard it, you can then use Progress Globe to bot deck that card because the stand ability doesn't cost CB, and then you get countercharge, so essentially you get your free Asturm back. All around, Progress Globe Dragon is a very solid grade 1. It gets you CC, it can get you Astrums back into deck, all for literally no cost, and the only requirement is that you stood a unit by a card ability. It technically doesn't have to be Asturm, it could be by swing by his own ability, or if they ever make a future support card that just stands a rear guard that is really generic, you could do that too. So all around, I do like having Progressive Globe in the deck. It gets countercharged and it gets resources back into it, so it's an easy 4 of. Then we have 4 copies of Aegis Absorber. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, aka base, continues Vanguard Guard Circle. If your Vanguard's a grade 3 guard Asturm, this unit gets intercept, aka intercept from back row, and gets 5,000 shield on top of it. So it's a 10k shield, aka base interceptor from back row, and that's honestly really good. This deck, if you can't tell, is meant to be really aggressive, with the only thing really defensive holding it back was the draw trigger. So being able to have a card that has increased guard power and that you can still early game rush with, because you want to push your opponent to as high damage as possible, so you can still call this card to board in the early game, attack your opponent down with it, and if they don't kill it, you can move it to the back row, and then once you get to grade 3, you have an extra guard power on hand. It's very nice to have in this deck. It works really well with the attacking side and does really good basis for the defense. So I like having Aegis Absorber out of 4 of, which is weird because I hated this card's art originally when I first saw it. And I think this was the first of like the grade 1s for the DZ set star bosses that was revealed that had the intercept 5k shield ability, and I remember I didn't like it, and for some reason now it's my favorite. Okay, well, it's my second favorite because the Sarvalsa one's my favorite, but we move besides that. Moving on to our PG, we have 4 copies of Strong Arm Conversion Stolg Arms. Grade 1 boost 0 souls. Okay, base continues Sentinel. You have up to 4 Sentinels in deck on its opponent guard circle. Choose one mutes. It cannot hit on the battle. If it hands 2 more cards in it, choose a card from your hand, discard a standard PG. Nothing to specify that. Basically, that means if this one and one of the cards in your hand puts it on guard circle, you don't have to discard. Great, because that means you'd be as aggressive as you want in the early game. Unlike our early decks, we only have 8 grade 1s, but spam the ever-living hell out of these 8 grade 1s. And then when your opponent eventually counterattacks you when you have little to no hand cards, Strong Alarms, middle finger them, you're good to go. All around, it's a very solid PG to have. You could run, not Planet Prevent Dragon, I'm getting all the PGs confused now. You could run Violate Dragon, or you could run Planet Wall Dragon. They both have the exact same skill as Stroga Arms. I used to make it Stroga Arms because, like the other PGs, they came out closer to the time of the Astrum's release, and normally that's what dictates what PG I use. But again, you could run either or. I just like having Strong Arms because, yeah, 4 of. And then we have our last grade 1 in the deck, one of them in the red deck, no copies in the main deck, of Blitz Killer Arm Bystand, grade 1 boost 5k shield, AK base, auto and Rotopon by Blitz Mega Jet Rebello, search your deck for up to 1 armored supply vehicle Preciosa, reveal it, put it to hand, shuffle the deck, and then continues rear guard during turn. If your Vanguard's a grade 3 guard Asturm, this unit gets 5,000 power. Okay, that second ability will never go off because there is no way in hell to call this card to rear guard circle from the drop zone or soul, but if you find a way, good for you. But being able to search your deck for your free set order is pretty solid, all by being Rotopon by Rebelio. It's a nice card to have. The only downside is that if they ever make a new set order for for Asturm, unless that card has the ability to count itself as Pariso, it's not going to be able to be searched by this. But hey, a free search of a set order that costs 1 CB once you ride, and you can play it almost immediately after, as long as your opponent gave you any form of CB in the previous turn, is all pretty solid. So I like having Bystand as a run within the ride deck. It's a free order search, and again, you're not going to be able to call this, but if you found a way to call it, it'd be a 13k once you hit grade 3, so there's that. Moving on, we have 4 copies of our very important set order that I was just talking about. Armored Supply Vehicle Preciosa. Grade 2 set order. After set orders play, put it to order zone. Play it by counterblasting 1. Auto order zone. When your rear guard stands by the ability of your grade 3 grade Vanguard with Asturm in the card name, that stand unit and all of your Vanguards get 5,000 power for the turn. All around, pretty solid. The downside is it specifically has to stand via Astrum's ability, which sucks because that means Swing By doesn't get benefited by this in any way, shape, or form. But being able just to stand anything, and then Astrum gives that unit in itself 5,000 power, this gives both units 5,000 power, is able to just increase your numbers to an astronomical extent, especially if you have multiple of them, because it does stack. And the grade 2 has the same ability as the grade 1 in the sense that it could search for the set order as well. So it's just a nice way to get numbers, with the only downside being it costs CB, but yeah, this is where Countercharger comes in. Now, we do actually have a very good support card for Asturm. It's the promo grade 1 that can actually set this card for free once it boosts Swing By. The reason why that card is not in here, and if you want to get the better, more explained reason why, go check out the other deck profiles that don't have those respective grade 1s. I believe it's Cristonios and Orso Larges, but the reason why that grade 1 is not here is because I do not run promo cards if we do not have a confirmed English date for them, or if we don't have a confirmed English art, and I checked 3 different times right before I did this video, and I do not see an English art anywhere, so unfortunately that grade 1 is not here. But if that grade 1 was here, screw this card and take out a copy of this. But all around, Prosa is a very solid set order to have. It gives your your rear guards and your Vanguard's numbers once any of them stand by the Vanguard ability. It only costs 1 CB, which sometimes is a problem, especially if your opponent does CB starve you, because it can definitely make it difficult with your search ability, because you really do need that Persona Ride to hit your opponent hard. But hey, this is where your CB goes if you can afford it. It's really good for the restand numbers, and once one of them hits the board, or actually once more than one of them hits the board, it's very hard to keep up. So 4 copies of Pre-Sosa. Moving on to 3 copies of Heavy Armor Conversion Ridgeland, Grade 2 Intercept 5k Shield, 10k base, all in place on rear guard circle, check top 5 for up to 1 Armor Supply Vehicle Priosa from on the reveal, put your hand show for deck. Okay, not bad. It's a top 5 search for this card. It could have been a better grade 2, especially considering what the other decks got as really good grade 2 support cards, but I mean, a top 5 search is a top 5 search, and it can get an extra one into the hand, and if you end up having the CB4 because you're spamming Progress Globe 24/7, you are able to set a third one. I mean, imagine having 3 of these in Order Zone. 1 Sand from Asturm gives both the Vanguard and the rear guard plus a total of 20k, and if that rear guard is Zigger Razor, then it's plus 30k, and if your Vanguard Persona over that turn, plus 40k. Like, you get my point. This card, while it's not necessarily amazing, a free top 5 search for a really good card is decent, so it's a 3 of in my book. There are better generic cards, but there are also worse generic cards. Let me have 4 copies of a hard decision to keep in, and I see reasons every time I play it why I shouldn't run it, and then right after I see those reasons that I shouldn't run it, I see reasons why I should run it, and that is Bullet of Creation, Pansmermia, Grade 2 Intercept 5k Shield, 10k base, auto when put on guard circle from hand or discarded from hand from riding from ride deck specifically, CB1 or energy blast 3 to draw a card. You will never use that energy skill because you really do need your energy for Asturm, because unlike the other decks, if you don't use the energy, the deck does genuinely die, because the entire point is to get restands, and it's the only card in the deck that can restand for some reason. So you're never going to use that energy. You're going to use the CB, which kind of makes into a CB problem, and why we very much appreciate Progress Globe being a thing. But then his other ability is auto when placed on rear guard circle for Persona Road this turn. CB1 Energy Blast 3. Again, you're pretty much going to use a CB all the time. Search up to 1 Grade 3 or greater unit card with a different card name from your Vanguard, or up to 1 set order. Reveal it, put it to hand, and shuffle the deck. If you revealed a card, ditch a card. So the draw skill is really helpful defensively, not really much consistently. I mean, you know, you could use it to ditch it during ride deck and then ride and then get more hand cards to possibly replace the card you discarded. But typically I use this card defensively, and that's really helpful because, you know, you could just draw a defensive trigger and then throw down that defensive trigger to keep yourself alive if you're short like 15k of Guardian power. So Pansmermia is nice for that. And then a second ability for Persona riding, yeah, I thought I would never use that, and literally the match that was going to decide if I get rid of this card or not, and was literally just going to be based on the fact if I pull the skill off or not, I pulled that skill off, and that's the reason I won, because I was able to search my deck for a copy of Swing by Dragon, and that game I just didn't draw Swing by Dragon until after my second grade 3 turn, so there were 3 grade 3 turns in total. So I already had one in hand. I used Pansmermia to get a second one. I already Persona Rode twice that turn, so then I called a second Swing by Dragon, and then I essentially just rushed my opponent down for lethal. So all around Pansmermia, as much as, like, I see reasons not to use him, and there are plenty of generic cards in Brandt to use over him, and I greatly respect that, but like I said, every single time I find reason to not run him because, you know, he costs CB in a CB heavy deck, or like, you know, his search skill is kind of only active once you hit Persona and really only useful for fetching out Swing by. He has proven to be useful for those times. So 4 copies of Pansmermia. I want to ditch him, but I literally can't. It won't let me. Then we have 4 copies of Zigger Razor. So the main reason why you're not going to use your energy on anything else but the Vanguard skill, Grade 2 Intercept 5k Shield, 10k base, auto rear guard when this unit stands by the ability of your Grade 3 Grade Vanguard, Asturm the card name, this unit gets 10,000 power. So even if you don't have this set order for whatever reason, and you just stand it by Asturm's ability alone, this thing is a 25k base, because it gets 10k from his skill, 5k from Asturm. All around, it's an amazing grade 2 for pressure. It is literally just a giant beat stick. I wish it had double crit base, because that thing would be even stronger. But again, the downside that comes with this is because that is literally its only skill. If you have a better stand target, or you just, you know, don't have the energy for Asturm, automatically you just have a 10k vanilla. It's not the worst, but it definitely hurts when you can't do the restand skill. So 4 of Zigger Razor, you definitely want him for the beat stick pressure, but beyond that, he is guard power and ditch fodder as the kingdom comes. 4 of. Then we have our last grade 2 in the deck, 1 of in the red deck, none in the main deck, of Blitz Mega Jet Rebello, Grade 2 Intercept 5k Shield, 10k base, auto and wrote upon by a Grade 3 card Asturm the card name, search after 1 Armored Supply Vehicle Prosa, reveal a player to hand shuffle the deck, and then contains Guard Circle if your Vanguard's a Grade 3 Grade Asturm at 10,000 shield. Okay, that 10,000 shield ability will never come in handy in this deck, because like I said with Kilogram over here, or okay, Kilo Arm over here, you can't call Superior Call from Soul or drops it on this deck, but if you found a way to do it, good for you, it's a 15k shield. But pretty much it's just a free search of the set order once you ride to a Grade 3. And that's pretty much the only reason why Rebel is here. It's just a free set order search. It's not a bad grade 2 at all, but I do wish it had a little bit more offensive pressure to it, but it is what it is, and it at least allows you to get your really good set order for free. So one of in the ride deck of Rebello, and none in the main deck. But on the bright side though, since Kill Arm gets you, since both of them are on Rotapons, you can play a set order the turn you ride to grade 2, probably the one you search from Bystand, and then when you ride to grade 3, you can play the one that you got from Rebello, so you at least have 2 as long as your opponent didn't ZB Star you. So that's not bad at all. So one of in the ride deck, none in the main deck. And move on to our grade 3s. 4 copies of Swing by Dragon, grade 3 to 13k base. Auto when placed on rearguard circle from the hand. If you have a grade 3, go to Vanguard, Asturm in the card name, CB1 to draw a card. So again, ease into the CB a little bit, but if you really need that hand card and you don't want to use, obviously you don't want to use your energy on your energy generator, you can at least use this up a CB to draw a card, which isn't a bad alternative cost. And then auto from a rearguard circle once per turn. When your other unit stands by a card's ability, Soul Blast 1, this unit gets 2,000 power for the turn. If you Soul Blasted a grade 3, go to card, Asturm in the card name for the cost, stand this unit. The only thing I hate about this is it doesn't get 5k. And what I mean by that, if you check all the other support cards for the, or like all the other supporting grade 3s for the DZ set start bosses, all of them get 5k when they Soul Blast anything, and then depending on, and then if you Soul Blasted out the main grade 3, you get an additional effect, and sometimes that's more power, and sometimes it's just like, extra benefit. And in this case, standing, that's fine as an extra benefit, but why does this not get 5k? Because only giving it 2k makes it a 15k, and if you're wondering, oh, the set order fixes it, no it doesn't. Because the set order specifically has to stand by, Astrum's ability. So I don't understand why Swing By only gets 2k. That only makes a difference if the opponent's at grade 2. So it's good for increasing hand, and having an extra attack is great, but when that extra attack is only 2k stronger, and it's not getting buffed up by the set order that makes it really good, I honestly can't argue you run it as a floor because it's an extra attack or it's an extra hand card, but otherwise, I can't argue why it should be here. Once they make a better support card, Swing By might just be out, just because it's that 2k does make the difference, unfortunately, and yeah, it's less than ideal is what I'm getting at. So for Swing By, it's nice for the restand, don't get me wrong, but the fact that it can't be boosted further by the order, and the fact that, it also only gets 2k upon the stand ability and not just 5k base is kind of annoying. So it's a 4 for what it is, but once something else comes along, probably not keeping. And then we have our last card in the deck, 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the red deck of Blitz Giga Mobile Asturm, grade 3, 200% 13k base. Active Vanguard once per turn by counterblasting 1 shift for 1 copy of this card, available to hand shuffle decks. It's a free 10k, 23k all around, which is nice to have. And then auto Vanguard, when this attacks into a Vanguard, Brandt blasting 4, choose one of your rear guards, stand it, and that and this unit both get plus 5,000 power for the turn. All around, pretty solid. It's a free copy search of itself, 23k base, and then it's a way to stand one of your rear guards, and at the very bare minimum, at least it and the rear guard that stood get 5,000 power, which is sometimes the bad thing about multi-attack decks, where you're going to have times where the unit that's attacking cannot hit the Vanguard on one of the 2 swings because you're going to have to give up a booster. At least in this case, unless your opponent pulls a trigger, the unit that you swing with, unless you stand a trigger, is going to be at least, unless you stand a trigger or PG, is going to be at least a 13k, so it's not the end of the world if you have to stand something and not have a set order. All around though, it's good. It gives itself numbers, it gives the rear guard numbers, it combos really well with the set order and does search itself a copy, and if you want to end up having less of a CB problem in the deck, you can get rid of, honestly, this, or even this. These are the 3 cards that I would recommend getting rid of if you try upgrading it, and just checking a Bubble Mine, that honestly probably fix your CB problem. Either way though, Asturm being able to search a copy of himself, making himself at least a 23k, and then his restand ability making himself at least a 28k. If you have 2 set orders, let's just assume you have the bare minimum, you have 1, he's a 33k with the restand, which all around makes him a very solid beat stick for literally only 4 energy. So all around, very good grade 3 to have for offensive pressure. He does his job really well. So 3 of the main deck, 1 of in the red deck. For that's it for this one. I hope all of you enjoyed. This deck has so much potential to be good. It's like Cristonios, where it walked into the party really bad, and then it got better over time. In this case, the deck walked into, out of the DZ set start bosses specifically, it walked into the party really good, but then it slowly fell apart over time because the support just, this, and then second up, you don't really have any consistent thing that wants to, or that stands by abilities, or a more stronger way of standing rear guard, so Perosa can give more numbers. But the day that they give us an upgraded form of Asturm that could stand a bunch of units, or a day that they give us more units that can give power, it's just going to make the deck a whole lot better. So I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join the Discord, follow Twitch, and don't forget to set up your Vanguards.